Has your marketing gone bitter or sour? Sit back and enjoy top shelf strategies from the Search Bar, now in season 2, where we're serving up fresh perspectives to help you and your digital marketing thrive. I am your host, Eric Ritter, SEO sommelier and CEO of Digital Neighbor, a friendly neighborhood marketing and SEO company based in Tampa, Florida. In this new season of the Search Bar, we'll deep dive into some SEO elements and trending digital topics every business owner should know. Then after covering the basics, we'll apply these strategies in real time to Tampa Bay businesses through our happy hour audits. In today's episode, we're going to dive into one of those SEO elements by talking with Amy Cibulas, an SEO strategist right here at Digital Neighbor, about the importance and power of technical SEO. And don't worry if you miss anything, I'll post a technical SEO checklist on my website for you to download and include the link in the show notes. So let's get started here with this episode. I am super stoked here to introduce our guest. Hey, Amy, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Search Bar podcast.
Hi, Eric. Happy to be here.
Can you tell the listeners and viewers where you're calling in from today? Because it looks like you're not in the studio, are you?
No, I am not in the studio. I am out in Seattle, Washington, on the opposite side of the country. So it is 10 a.m. I have my coffee, and I'm ready to roll.
There you go. And so technology is connecting us. We're talking about technology, technical SEO today. So I really want to start off by hearing a little bit about your background and what brought you to the awesome SEO agency, Digital Neighbor.
Back when I was in college in 2016, I majored in mass communication because I was really bad at math and I had undiagnosed ADHD. And I was like, well, what can I do that doesn't require any math, but is also kind of quote unquote practical? Because I would have loved to major in creative writing or something like that. I did minor in creative writing, but financial independence was a big deal to me. So I was in a situation where I couldn't just move back in with my parents after graduation rent free while I figured things out. And so I was like, well, mass communication is kind of the best of both worlds. You kind of get into marketing, and there's money in marketing. And at the same time, I can put my love of writing into use. So I'm majoring in mass communications at the University of South Florida, and I'm in a lecture hall for a class that I cannot remember. And even though it's this huge lecture hall, I feel like people still kind of gravitate toward an assigned seat. Week after week, you just kind of go to the same spot. And so I ended up sitting next to this girl named Hannah, shout out to Hannah, week after week. And I would always see her Googling the most random crap in the middle of these lectures on her computer. And it finally got to the point where I couldn't politely ignore it anymore. And she was looking at Google image results for celebrities with the best beards. And I finally lean over and I'm like, girl, what are you doing? What have you been doing this entire time? And she explains that she's writing a guest post for a beard oil brand. And I had never heard of this concept before. And she gets paid to write this stuff. And I'm like, oh boy, where do I sign up? That sounds right up my alley. I want to get paid to write about beard oil and other stuff like that. Because my current job was, or not current, but at the time, I was working for a used textbook store and going around door to door at student apartments, leaving flyers for our sales and whatnot. And I really liked the idea of writing at home instead. So I began working as a copywriter at the same company that Hannah worked at. Again, bless Hannah, wherever you are. I hope you're doing well. And over the next year, I'm promoted to an editor at this company. But this whole time, I didn't really understand what I was doing or why I was doing it. I didn't know why businesses would order so much content from us. I didn't know what a guest post was. To me, it was just an easy 600-word assignment and not anything related to SEO. I didn't understand. So fast forward to 2018, I'm taking my very first digital marketing class with one Eric Ritter at the University of South Florida. And I approach you about an internship because I need an internship to graduate. And you were impressed by my copywriting experience. And I still didn't understand how that had anything to do with digital marketing or SEO. But it sealed the deal, got me in. And finally, I'm starting to connect the dots when I'm, working with Digital Neighbor, learning kind of why I'm doing the things that I'm doing, why I'm writing all of these meta descriptions, why I'm fixing all of these broken links. And I mean, years later, I'm still having those moments of understanding. It's just a constant learning process. But that is how I kind of came into Digital Neighbor and how I kind of came to grow from a copywriter to an SEO strategist.
That was a lot, Amy. And I just want to highlight like how long you've actually been doing this, right? You've been doing this since, what was that, junior year of college, you said?
I have no idea. I have no concept of time. That sounds right, though. 2016.
So you definitely have a lot of experience kind of with SEO. And I like how you started off actually not knowing that you were doing SEO by writing content, right? Which is one of the foundations of SEO. And then started from content, kind of moved up. And now you're an SEO strategist at Digital Neighbor, right?
Yeah, it's crazy where one decision can take you.
Well, so as an SEO strategist, I'm curious, I'm sure our viewers, listeners would love to know, what does a typical day now look like, right? So it's not sitting in lecture halls anymore and watching over the shoulder of someone else. It's not writing an article about beard oil. So what does the day of an SEO strategist at Digital Neighbor look like now?
Well, you know as well as I do that there is no typical day. It changes so frequently depending on the clients that we're working with and just what's going on in the agency. So a lot of the things that I do include auditing new client websites and creating strategies for them to succeed. I work on reporting each month, so making sure that the strategies that we've implemented are working and doing what we want them to do. Optimizing content on websites, meeting with clients to make sure that they understand the value of what we're doing, and of course, implementing technical fixes on websites to make sure that things are running smoothly.
Awesome. I think you already kind of jumped ahead here to the heart of today's episode, right? I was going to say there's a lot of different things that go into SEO that I know for the listeners at home. There's different parts of SEO. You already mentioned content. And today we're going to focus on technical SEO. And I'm really looking forward to it. You have a lot of different areas of expertise. And so I just need you to put on your technical SEO hat here for this podcast here on the search bar. And, I wanted to start off maybe talking about why technical SEO is so important and why we're talking about that today, right? And I'm going to start off kind of a little bit, and then Amy, if you just want to jump in here, right, is with technical SEO, in my opinion, really is the foundation of the website. It's making sure that it can be found online. Because if your website has any technical issues, just like the bones of the website there, the users won't be able to see the website, won't be able to come up when they're searching for it, won't be able to work when they're visiting the website, and it won't get noticed by search engines, which is the core of SEO, right?
Right. And I feel like it's something where there are so many different elements that go into technical SEO that if you just pull one out, like pull one issue out, it looks really small, but it's kind of like a death by a thousand cuts situation where if you have a lot of little things wrong, it adds up in the end and can really weigh down your website.
That's a great way to put it, right? Because there could be one big thing. We just had a client this week. their website had a technical error that kept it from even being indexed by Google, right? Like Google couldn't even access the website. So that's an example of just one big thing that, when it comes to the commands on the website, right? We were putting in a command that told Google, don't even look at my website. And that can happen, and that's easy. But like you said, most of the time, it's 1,000 little things that just add up that are literally killing your website by 1,000 little cuts. So that's a great way to put it. So we've talked about, why it's important. So I want to talk about where you should start with technical SEO. And I think that's really important for our listeners out there, is understanding how do I even start with this thing of technical SEO? We talked about it could keep your website from being found on Google if you make one big mistake, or it could just be really hurting your website by 1,000 little things there. And I know here at Digital Neighbor, using that as an example, we start with something called the Website Quality Audit, or as we call the WQA. And we do that because it doesn't just use one tool, it uses a lot of different tools, really kind of a multidimensional approach to look at data from several different sources. And you mentioned that you do audits for client websites. I know you do a lot of these website quality audits there. So if you want to maybe talk about that a little bit more, Amy.
Yeah, and I feel like technical SEO, if you don't really have any familiarity with it, feels like a buzzword
Yeah.
that doesn't really mean anything. So I think it's important to talk about I would divide SEO into two big categories, right? You have technical SEO, and that is things that are more behind the scenes, like broken links and things that affect the way that people interact with your website and the way that Google crawls it and understands it. And then content SEO being, as the name suggests, the content on your website, what people are reading and what Google is understanding as the meaning of your content. So when we're talking about technical SEO, that involves a lot of different facets. When we're doing an audit, we look at a lot of different data points, and I find the best way to kind of break it down is by the tool or the source of the data that we're pulling. So the first thing that we're looking at is all of the URLs on a website, all of the metadata, so the titles and the meta descriptions that are associated with those URLs, the internal links that are pointing to those URLs, the indexability status. Are we telling Google to index certain pages and not index others? What canonical tags does each URL have? What is the page depth of each URL? How many clicks does it take to get to that URL from the home page? There are so many different data points that come from just a crawl of the website. We use a tool called Screaming Frog that pulls this data. I know there are some other tools out there that do something similar, but this is really just pulling all of that data that we have access to about every page individually.
That sounded so technical, Amy. Everything you just described, I now know why it's called technical SEO, because that was a lot of technology behind there, right? So there's a lot of kind of like getting into the weeds and understanding, not just from the outside on the car, hey, there's something wrong, but you're actually opening the hood, you're taking out every part of that engine and looking at it to understand, how's that machine running, the machine being that website there, and understanding kind of how the search engines at our machines, how they look at the website as well.
Yeah, it makes it tricky to talk about with so many different moving parts.
Yeah.
But I think that is really the heart of it, is that technical SEO is more about the way that Google and other search engines are understanding your website, and how can you optimize that? How can you make it easier for Google to understand the content on your site and get it ranked, really?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, right? Because, we talked about content and then here more the technical side. And, just using an analogy here is you could create the best content in the world that everybody wants to read and put on your website. But if you do something technically wrong on the website, Google doesn't care. Google doesn't give a shit, right? Because they're like, oh, you're telling me not to look at it. Or, hey, this there's an issue here and the font is, white font on a white background, and it's great content, but I'm not going to serve that up because that's a bad user experience. And I know that's not as big of a role, kind of user experience. I know we might get to that a little bit later, but that's a good way to put it, Amy, is like you are actually keeping your great content, your website from being found if you're not covering these basics in technical SEO.
Right, exactly. And that's why those are kind of the two main categories, and they do overlap somewhat when we're talking about title tags and meta description, because you can have technical errors with those elements, but it's also a matter of writing well. So it's really what's the word I'm looking for? Like multidisciplinary. I don't know.
It's like a decathlon, right? The Olympics just happened, right? And, if you look at track and field, you got people, hey, I'm really good at running. I'm really good at jumping. I'm really good at throwing something. But decathlon, you got to be good at all of it. And it seems like SEO is similar, right? You can't just be good at one thing to win the gold medal. You got to be good at a lot of different things.
Yes, exactly. And that's how it gets kind of complicated.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of learning new things all the time.
Yeah, but I interrupted you there. You were talking about Screaming Frog to kind of, crawl the website. You got very technical there. That's why I jumped in, right? Because there's a lot of things that you look at that takes a certain area of expertise that you've acquired over time to understand what does this actually mean? Why should I care about it? Which I think is great. And I think you're going to move on to kind of the next tool that you use. What do you use besides Screaming Frog?
Right. So when we're doing an audit, we pull data from a lot of different sources. The first one, as you mentioned, kind of being Screaming Frog to see all of the different URLs. And then we also use Ahrefs to see the different backlinks that are pointing to those URLs on the website and what keywords the website currently ranks for. That can give us a good idea of what's working, what's performing well, what needs work, and what could benefit from building additional backlinks. Another data source that we look at is Google Search Console. That helps us to see organic performance. So is this page even getting any organic clicks? Is it getting seen in Google search results? And then finally, Google Analytics, where we can see session data, we can see user data, revenue, e-commerce, all of that good stuff to really figure out, okay, what pages are performing well and what needs to be improved and what is just absolutely cluttering the website and can get tossed in the bin.
So not only, like we said, we're starting off with that technical side, right? But also looking at what others think of the website, right? Like what links are coming back. I would like to say a link is like a vote from another website, right? And what other websites are kind of helping us build our authority is, I think, something that's important to look at. You mentioned the website quality audit. And then finally, actually looking historically what's worked on the website, what hasn't, because that helps us then make data-informed decisions on what to do from a technical standpoint, what needs to be fixed, et cetera, right?
Right. And the outcome of this audit for the listeners at home, picture a big spreadsheet, just huge, filled with from top to bottom with data, like 26 columns across. And I show this to clients, and it's overwhelming at first, but we break it down, into the actual actions and things. But for all of that data, it is still very much a balanced discipline of data decisions and then just kind of plain old common sense, which is why I feel very secure in doing this and not having it be taken over by AI, because you can look at all the data and say, oh, this page doesn't get any clicks or something. Let's throw that away.
Yep.
But you also need that more subjective view and ability to look at a page and be like, well, why is this needed? Can we do something to fix it? I don't know if I'm even making sense, but it's a combination of both objective data decisions and that more contextual, what does this website need and how do we make it the best experience for users.
Yeah, it's an art and a science, right? So you mentioned the scientific part of it. The website quality audit is a fantastic tool. So I think we should go ahead and put a sample website quality audit or WQA up on the website. Because like you said, Amy, it's a really big spreadsheet. And I think people just don't understand how much goes into it. So we'll put a sample one up on the website so that people can check it out themselves. So let's move on to the next point here, which is mistakes. So we've talked about you run audits, these website quality audits for clients for websites out there. And there's different things you look at. And I'm just curious, what are some of those big mistakes you see maybe over and over, or bigger or smaller ones that you see when you're running these audits, Amy?
So we have all this data in our website quality audit. What do we do with it? What mistakes are we looking for? Number one, we're looking for broken links, so 404 errors, and fixing those so that someone is not taken to a broken page on the website. We're looking at pages that are potentially hidden from users and from search engines. That means they are buried deep in the site. There's a metric called page depth that counts the number of clicks it takes to get to a page from the home page. So if you have a blog post that takes 10 clicks to get to from the home page, no one's going to get there.
Right.
And Google is going to have a hard time too, because the way that Google crawls websites, they're looking at the pages that are closest to the home page as the most important. So by burying something 10 clicks away, you're telling Google, like, we don't really care about this one and we don't want you to see it. So making sure that your important content has a good page depth is important. Another issue that we're looking for is indexation issues. What are we telling Google that we want indexed, and what are we telling Google that we don't want indexed? As you mentioned earlier, we had a client whose entire website was not indexable, so that's a huge issue. So we're looking for any pages that maybe should be indexed and aren't being indexed, or the other way around, where we're trying to find pages that are being indexed, but we don't really want Google to show in search results. Those are things like thank you pages, maybe paginated pages like page 15 of the blog, and any paid media landing pages that we don't want people seeing in Google search results. We don't want organic traffic to kind of mess with our paid media metrics. So we're looking at indexability. And then finally, another big issue that we are looking at is clutter. Where is the clutter on the website? I watch a lot of hoarders, and I go into it with the hoarder's mentality. What do we not need? And there's a lot of ways to figure that out. With the data that we pull. So if a page has a really low word count, that might be a sign that it's blank, that there's just nothing there and it's garbage. We see a lot of placeholder, template, lorem ipsum text pages that can go, and we're really just trying to clean out the hoard and make the home or website, in this case, livable again.
That's great, Amy. And those are all really good examples of things that you see kind of as you're working on technical SEO and that website quality audit. And I want to look at it through maybe a different lens, right? User experience. Because one way to look at this is technical SEO has been around for a long, long time, right? And if you're doing technical SEO right, you're going to see the results. You're going to get higher rankings. The website's going to have more visibility, et cetera. But I think one of the reasons why this is also important is because everything that you just talked about influences the user's experience when they get to the website. And as Google gets smarter and smarter, it's understanding that better and better, because that's really what I think Google wants to have. It wants to have a website with a really good user experience. So by doing really good technical SEO and doing everything right, you're going to get rewarded long-term, and you're actually making your website more future-friendly, right? Because as AI gets smarter, as machine learning gets smarter, Google is more able to emulate a real a human's experience on that website. And that's why it's also important to look at technical SEO directly correlates with user experience. The better the technical SEO, the better the user experience is going to be, right? Because technical SEO, bottom line, isn't just for search engines, it's also for users. And by users having a better experience, they're going to spend more time on the site. They're going to look at more pages. They're not going to bounce right away, which is a direct ranking factor in Google. So it's really important. Like you talked about, broken links. That's frustrating to a user, not just to Google, right? If I go somewhere and I click on it, I expect it to go to a certain page and it didn't work. I'm like, all right, well, screw this site. I'm gonna go somewhere else, right? Slow websites. Again, if you should have been doing that all along, right? Why would you want to have a slow website? It's frustrating to the user, and it's becoming a ranking factor, not just because Google wants to have a fast website, but Google also wants you to have a good user experience, especially as we're switching more and more to mobile phones, to mobile devices. The internet isn't always as fast as at home, right? So you want to have that good load time there. And then also the navigation, right? That information architecture is so important that you can find things on the website and you're not getting frustrated. I know I'm kind of going outside of the technical SEO box, but just one thing I think about a lot on websites is, this podcast called the search bar. And for a reason, because I love a good search bar. And I think every website should have a search bar on it, because let's say, you can't find exactly what you're looking for, because everybody experiences a website and interacts with it differently. For me, for example, I'd rather search for something than clicking around 10 different spots and trying to find it, right? So that you can even overcome potentially bad linking, bad internal linking by having that search bar on there. And I think we're on the same page about that, Amy. What do you think about user experience and technical SEO?
Right, especially for e-commerce. I am not about to get up in that long list of different clothing that you have.
Yeah.
I just want to type in, I don't know, green pants.
Yeah.
Or something. It's so important to make sure that your website is meeting user expectations, that when they click on something, it's going where they think it's going to go, and that they can find what they're looking for easily. Because, as you mentioned, Google takes that into account. If people are clicking around and they don't find what they're looking for and they leave without really taking any action, Google knows that. Google has a very sophisticated algorithm, and they understand how people navigate your site.
So one thing I really want to get into is the businesses and companies, right, that are investing into SEO and technical SEO. It's a big investment, and there's a lot of resources go in there, from development time, design time, SEOs, et cetera. So how can a business know what to prioritize, and what some of the common mistakes that you've seen with businesses you worked with on technical SEO, Amy?
This is something that I am so passionate about, because something that is really important to me is understanding and being understood. So when I give a client this big spreadsheet, I want to make sure that they understand what it is that we are telling them that they should do, and that they are able to implement it on their end. And so when clients are looking at their site on their own and looking at all the technical errors from a crawling tool, maybe like Ahrefs or SEMrush or who knows what else, and they get this huge list of different items that the tool recommends, they don't know really what to tackle first and have a hard time prioritizing things correctly. I think prioritization, that's a tough word for me.
Yeah. But an important word.
Crucial. Yes. An important word.
Yes.
Because there's so many little things, as I mentioned, kind of the death by a thousand cuts, but some cuts are bigger than others and you got to slap the Band-Aid there first to stop the bleeding. This is getting into a gory analogy, but you know what I mean.
No, it makes sense.
And that's why when we present these audits, we have a prioritization list. Here's what, if you do this, this is going to make the biggest, quickest impact on your site. And it's also taking into account effort and resources. You could spin your wheels and spend hours and hours updating every meta description on your site, and that's good and fine. But if you're doing that and neglecting a huge issue like a bunch of broken links or an important page is not being indexed, you're not using your time effectively. So that's definitely a mistake that I see a lot, is just a lack of understanding of what's important and what will have the biggest impact. And then much more specific mistake that I've only seen it once, but it can happen, is if you are creating redirects for broken pages, making sure that you're creating the right kind of redirect is so important. I don't know how much technical SEO knowledge our listeners have to begin with, but a redirect, in simple terms, is a link that goes somewhere else. You know, you click on an old broken link and, oops, we're going to take you to the new working link. And there are multiple kinds of redirects. There's a 301 redirect, which is permanent. You're telling Google, I've made a permanent change from this URL to this
I've moved.
URL.
Never look at my old address again, right?
Never look at that old nasty URL ever again. And then there are 302 redirects that are temporary. You're telling Google, hey, I've moved over here for a bit, but I'm coming back. So don't forget my old address. Don't keep all of the backlinks that are pointing to it. Like
and don't even care about my new URL, right? The new one isn't really important.
I hate that guy. That new guy sucks. I love my old URL. And so when someone clicks on a 302, they get the good experience of being taken to the new page and everything is hunky-dory and fine. But Google is not, it's not good for Google, because if you had backlinks to that original URL, you're not passing on any of the
Say my favorite word.
Karma.
Nope.
I don't want to say link juice.
I'll say it then. You're not passing on any link juice, right? So,
in my brain, link juice is purple.
Is it purple?
Do you have any visualization?
Mine was always orange. So my orange link juice.
It's going through like a swirly straw.
It is. And so what does link juice mean, right? So I'm just going to interject here. So what that means, there's, again, we talked about the multidisciplinary aspect of SEO. And so one of those is the backlinks to the website, right? Because those are the votes. Those are what build the authority. So if you have the links going to that old URL, the one who we might, to your point, we hate now, Amy, and we don't ever want to talk to again, and we're telling Google, okay, I'm changing my URL. I'm changing the name of my product, right? So my product used to be Green Bottle, but now it's Red Bottle. So we're changing from Green Bottle. We're redirecting to, I forget the colors already, from Green Bottle to Brown Bottle. Red Bottle, thank you. From Green Bottle to Red Bottle. And everybody, knows about my old bottle, the Green Bottle there, and everybody's linking to it. And now I'm changing to Red Bottle and I'm saying, oh, it's a 301. Now my green product is the red product. It's going to be great. And my red product's going to show up in Google. It's going to get all the rankings and authority because it's passing on all the power of the links, which I call link juice, right? That went to the old one, go to the new one now. But to your point, if I put in that temporary one, the 302 redirect, then that juice is not going to move over to the red bottle, that new product. It's going to stay with the old one. And I'm going to lose all that SEO value there.
Right. And it's such an easy mistake to make because it works. It still works.
Yeah.
The redirect, you're not seeing anything, on the user experience side. It's all that kind of behind the scenes technical stuff. That's the issue.
Yeah. And, just to come back to what you said about prioritization is that 301, 302, 301 redirect might not have even been found in an auditor if you're using like a SEMrush or an Ahrefs or whatever Neil Patel calls his, right? Because I definitely don't want to give him a shout out, but that's a whole nother podcast topic there. Is you're just chasing percentages. Oh, I'm 80, 90 of 100% somewhere. And those percentages don't really matter at the end of the day. What matters are the big ones that are going to have an impact on your website, that are going to actually move the needle and influence your rankings and your organic sessions.
right? And it comes back to that theme of data is great.
Mm-hmm.
It's great to have. You can get a lot of valuable insights, but it's not nearly as impactful if you don't have somebody, a human person, actually looking at it and making those connections and, putting in that human perspective.
I couldn't agree more. No, absolutely. And I could talk to you for hours and hours, Amy, but I want to kind of bring us here to our final point, because I don't want to let anybody miss out on the checklist, the technical SEO checklist, right? So for the listeners at home, if you haven't paid attention to now, how could you? But if you haven't, it's fine, because now's the time to pay attention. It's the SEO checklist. Again, we're going to just walk through it pretty quickly here and briefly in comparison to what we're going to put on the website. You can download it. We're also going to put a sample website quality out there. So again, if you take one thing away from today's podcast, it's first of all that Amy doesn't like link juice as much as me. It's that we are giving a shout out to this girl, Hannah from USF, wherever you are. We hope you're doing well. And then also, God bless Hannah, this technical SEO checklist. So there's 6 different points of this checklist. And so let's get into them of what really is important for technical SEO. And we've kind of touched on all of them during the episode, but this just really sums it up succinctly, I hope. And firstly, we have indexability. That's the foundation, right? That makes sure search engines can find and understand your site. Amy is nodding for those that are listening here. So Amy, thank you. So now she's nodding enthusiastically. Number 2 is the crawl errors. So after making sure that it's indexed, that Google has the opportunity to serve you up and show your website, you want to identify and fix any issues that prevent search engines from scanning the website. So one of those could be what we got into and kind of nerded out a little bit, the 301, 302 permanent temporary redirects, right? Those can throw off search engines. One thing we didn't mention was redirect loops. That's something that can happen as well. It's when you're redirecting from one page to another, you're changing names multiple times, and all of a sudden, you guys have probably at home seen this, where all of a sudden a website, the little dinosaur comes up in Chrome and says, oops, can't show this page. There's a redirect error there. That can happen, and that's some part of technical SEO as well.
But then you can play the game.
Can you if you get a redirect error? I didn't know that.
Well, if the dinosaur comes up, you can play the dinosaur game.
Ooh, well, don't tell that to our listeners, because now they're going to try to error out the websites and
crash their internet and play the Google dinosaur game. Everyone's done it.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I like when they have the games actually on the front page of Google, which very, very seldomly when they have like the Google Doodle that you can like be interactive with, those are always fun. So hopefully they do that. I feel like they don't do that as often as they used to with the Google Doodles. Probably
bring it back, Google.
It's budget cuts. Yep. Bring back those Google Doodles for every holiday.
I know you're listening, CEO.
I know you're listening, Sergey. I'm talking about the founders, not the current CEO. It's Sergey Brin and Larry Page. Of course, they listen to this. Why would they not? So we're moving on here. We talked about indexability on the checklist. We talked about crawl errors. Another thing to look at is the meta and structured data. Amy kind of got into that when we were talking about on-page stuff with the content on-page, making sure that the meta tags are optimized, using that structured data behind the scenes. That really helps search engines better understand the content. And that's getting increasingly important, not just what's on the front of the page, but also behind the scenes. Those are the famous voice assistants such as Siri and Alexa are crawling the page that way, but also AIs like ChatGPT are looking at that structured data behind the scenes. Next up is the user experience. So user experience is getting increasingly important because Google wants to have a human-like experience on there, not just something that is for robots, but you actually want to optimize the website for humans there. So making sure that you're improving how users interact with the site. And so those are things that have been long established, but that a lot of people are still neglecting, such as mobile friendliness, duplicate content, smooth navigation, site speed, etc. Those are all important things that we got into today. Number 5 here is links and navigation. Ensuring the internal links and site navigation are clear and user-friendly. Like Amy said, if it takes 10 clicks to the blog post, no one's going to click that off and Google's not going to care. So you want to make sure that depth of the page, as we call it, how deep it is down kind of that rabbit hole, makes sense for that page. And 10 subdirectories deep or whatever it is never makes sense, but who knows? There might be exceptions. I've been known to be wrong from time to time. Amy's not going to jump in there because she knows better. So,
oh no, I don't think there's any exception. I think that's wacky.
Yep. No, I agree. I mean, you want to keep things close to that root directory, right? Because, not from a user experience, from a crawl standpoint, from a Google, whatever the search engine is. The last thing I want to talk about is monthly monitoring. We didn't get into that too much here in the podcast, but Amy, I know that's part of your responsibilities as well, is kind of doing those regular checks and maintaining the website's health and performance. And if you maybe want to briefly talk about that, because everything we talked about almost sounds like it's a one-time thing, like, hey, let's find this and fix it, but that's not really how it works, is it?
Right. Yeah, websites change all the time. You're putting up new content, you're taking down old content. People are in there tinkering with things, updating the messaging. And so you're going to have stuff that breaks. That's just kind of a fact. So every month we like to check to make sure that there are no new broken links. And the biggest thing, and something that you can do for free, listeners at home, look at your website. Go to it. Go and click things. Make sure it works. I can't stress that enough. Just look at it. You might be surprised to see that things are broken that you didn't think were broken. And you can do that for $0 and 0 cents. No agency required.
And that's so true what you said there, Amy, because so often a client comes to us and we don't even check. And that's so true what you said there, Amy, because so often clients come to us and it's just very obvious things that are broken on the website. I'm like, do you not even visit your own website? So that's a great tip. Just go and take a look at your website. Awesome, Amy. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Search Bar. I had a blast here. So thank you so much for calling in all the way from the other side of the country.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. You can find me nowhere. I strive to have no internet presence whatsoever, but you can find me at Digital Neighbor.
Yep. So you make sure that our clients are found, and that's really what matters, right?
And not me.
There you go. Perfect. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening and watching today's episode. Make sure you head over to my website to download your technical SEO checklist now at the link below.